Hey, it's Cy here with Hillbilly Jeeps, and today we're going to change the spark plugs on the 3.6 Pentastar and the Hillbilly Escalade. It's a little bit of an intensive job. It's not hard, it's just time consuming, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours depending on your skill level. I want to do this video because I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube. It's 48 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes or even longer about changing the spark plug. So I'm going to try to condense this one so that we can do it in about 8 minutes without showing all the bolts being taken out and everything that you do, but just show you at each step and talk you through what I've done. So to start with, let me show you what we have in the way of parts before we get started. So you want to make sure that you have the spark plugs, of course, and I went with the laser iridium NGKs, which is what came in my Jeep. I have 115,000 miles on it and it's still running strong. No problems, never any misfires, so I don't see any sense in changing. Now, a point to mention about that is that these spark plugs say that they're preset at 0.44. So, I've checked them. They are 0.44 on the tight side of 0.44. If you look in the book, it tells you 0.43. A lot of other websites tell you 0.43, but that is the spec that it says it is, and they're all 0.44. So I'm going to leave them at that. I've read some forums that says that it depends on the manufacturer of the spark plug, but if it's what the OE calls for, and that was what was in mine, that it should be okay. I also got some anti-seize to put on the threads because it gets pretty hot, as everybody that has JK knows, inside of there. We don't want them next time to be seized up. We have to take them out. And then of course we have the intake manifold gaskets. The ones that's in there are white, but the replacements are blue. They're the same thing. You have to replace these. Being as you're in there, I would suggest that you replace them. I don't know if you have to, but you definitely should, especially if you're like me and you've let it go a little longer than you should and you have over 100,000 miles. And then because I have to take off the intake and I have to take off throttle body and the air intake, the cold air that I have, to get to all that, just to do the spark plugs, you also have to take out the coil packs. So I decided to go ahead and put in the high performance RIPP coil packs as I'm in there. Same amount of work that you have to do it. So if you ever want to do this, now would be the time to replace your coil packs because you're already in there and the work's already done. So let's get started with breakdown. So first step is going to be to remove, of course, the cover off the top. Get that out of your way, the heat shield. And then you're going to take off your cold air intake, in my case, the banks off of here. Then you're going to take off your throttle body. You're going to do your map sensor, your intake flow sensor that's connected here. You've got to undo these hoses. You have to undo the 8 bolts on the top of the intake manifold, and then you have to undo the 10 bolts on the side. There's a bracket at the back. There's a bracket over here. We're going to get that done, and then we'll come back. Okay, guys, we got everything off. Didn't take me but about probably 25 minutes to take everything off. Didn't take a lot of tools. Wasn't that hard. As you can see, got the mains intake off. I'm going to clean the filter while I've got it off. Got the intake itself off. Throttle body intake here. BBK. Then of course the shield off the top. Then it didn't take that many tools either. The only thing I had was a few different sizes of extensions, even a short one, and 1/4-inch wrench and swivel. The swivel definitely came in handy. You will need a deep well 13 for those bottom 13mm bolts on those brackets. And then I like these, the ratchet and box ends. They really come in handy for some of those lower brackets. Here we are under the hood. You see what we got there. Got the intake gaskets. Those white ones going to have to be changed. Look pretty dry. Last thing to take off here before I start taking the spark plugs and the coil packs off is of course this piece of insulation here, but all pretty straightforward. Surprisingly clean in there for this is a 2020. It's a 2014, bought in 2013, so 7-year-old Jeep. It has done plenty of wheeling, 115,000 miles all the way from coast to coast, so not as dirty as I thought it would have been. Okay, so we got all the coil packs out, all 6 of them. They look in really great shape. Like I said, I've never had a misfire, but while I'm in there, I'm going to put the RIPPs or RIPP super performance ones in there. Another note is I did unplug the negative post on the battery, because you are undoing your coil packs. You wouldn't want to arc or short anything out, just as a precaution, and all the other sensors. And then you definitely want to pack your intake ports with some clean rags, or cover them with tape. I went with the rags because they're not even going to be hurt, and I can use them next time I'm working on a vehicle. So use a 5/8 socket wrench to take out your spark plugs. And for the spark plugs to put back in, like I said, we gapped them at 0.043 to 0.44 or 0.43. This one come pre-gapped. I checked it. It is 0.44, and we're going to go with that, as that's what the factory was. And this is when we use the anti-seize right here on these threads, as it does get hot in those JKs. Okay, so we got it all buttoned back up. Spark plugs are in. The new RIPP coil packs are in, and the new gaskets. You can see I removed the paper towels. You don't want to forget that. Make sure everything's clear. Try to pull the hoses back out of your way. Now time to put the intake manifold back on. So it's all buttoned up now. Everything's hooked back up. Give it a once over. Just hadn't put the cover back on it. I'm about to hook up the battery, and then we'll see what she sounds like. Always make sure you do a good once over and that nothing's in the way before you try to start. Count the paper towels you put in to the port. Make sure there's no extra bolts or parts laying around, and give it a check. Start her up, see what she does. Okay, so check it out. See if we got any, sound like we got any vacuum leaks or anything. Sounds like it's running nice and smooth. No check engine light. Seems to be good. So good morning. Finished up the Jeep last night, but it was a little dark to finish up the video, so I wanted to come back this morning and say it went well. Jeep runs good. It immediately said that I had better gas mileage. We'll see if that remains after more freeway driving. Just drove about 10 miles and it increased the gas mileage by 1.3 miles per gallon, which is pretty significant over just changing spark plugs and coil packs. However, if you look at the old spark plug, and you can see here, the gap on these was about 48, 49 on all the spark plugs that came out of there, as opposed to the 43 going in. So that in itself can make a difference. But every spark plug was good and dry, no problems, which made me very happy. But it took me 138 minutes from start to finish. I set a timer just to see how long it would take, and that was changing both spark plugs and coil packs. So I think it's a pretty smooth, simple job that most DIYers can do. Shade Tree Mechanics. So thank you for watching, and God bless.